Hello, and welcome to Game Changers, the future of play, where we explore AI, gaming, and the business of play. I'm Sarah Ramoz, and today we're joined by Mike Wallis, Director of Product Management for Online Social at Epic Games, the company behind Fortnite, Rocket League, and some of the most influential online ecosystems in gaming. We'll hear Mike's insights on how to build games that last, from live ops to social systems, and share actionable insights for executives, studio leaders, and developers navigating long-term player engagement. Welcome, Mike. We're so excited to have you.
Hi, Sarah. Thanks. I'm happy to be here.
Great. So let's jump right in. We'd love to hear a little bit about your background and your career. How did you get into the gaming and product management space?
Yeah, thanks. So I've been in the game industry now 29 years at this point. I started in QA at Electronic Arts many years ago, and through the first 15. So after QA, I very quickly moved into like an assistant producer role, where I was for about the next 15 years or so. Various producer, senior producer, exec producer, studio management, focusing on delivery and execution of product, right? Game titles. So I have about 65 game credits to over my career, in various production capacities. About 14 years ago, I pivoted into product management. And the past 7 years, I've been on platform, different game platforms like Battle.net at Blizzard, PSN at Sony, and then of course on Epic Games Launcher, with Epic Games. Focusing on building products and services that game team customers can ingest. Basically, we build it once at the platform level, so the game teams don't have to reinvent the wheel each time.
Very cool. Super impressive. Um, Interesting. What drew you to Epic Games and the online social space?
So Epic has not had much of a social feature for their Epic Game Launcher. They have friends and a very rudimentary presence system, but they were planning to make a big push into um, really building out social, right? Chat, voice technology, et cetera, DMs, et cetera. And starting from the ground up. And so that was super appealing to me because at Blizzard, I had done that for 4.5 years. I managed their social portfolio of products. But when Battle.net is at the time when I joined, it was 18 years old, right? And so they had many of those features and products already in place by the time I joined. So my focus was really on optimization, and enhancements and improvements to existing products. But getting to build all of these 0 to 1 at Epic was super exciting.
Yeah, that sounds exciting. Very cool. Let's jump right into some additional questions. What's a key trend impacting long-term engagement right now?
So I think there's a couple for me, right? The first one is probably user-generated content, and like creator economies, right? We see that today heavily in games like Roblox and Minecraft, as well as UEFN, right, which is the Unreal Editor Fortnite. Um, we're seeing payouts increasing, and on UEFN specifically, we see key drive titles from like third-party developers, the non-Epic, non-first-party teams, that are around games like Havoc Hotel and some of the brain rot games that they have, which is seeing an increasing share of player sessions. So that is super exciting. Another one really is agentic AI and its application for process improvement. This really helps to power indie devs, to enable those very small teams to basically add virtual coworkers, allowing them to develop even faster than they could before. Um, this could potentially, create a flood of innovative games from anywhere, which it could lead to faster innovation cycles around things like gameplay mechanics and game economies.
I love
Yeah,
that.
you know, if
I
I
can
may,
see Diego's brain stewing a little bit, so
well,
I'll let him jump
no,
in.
yeah, I have to jump in, but especially when we're talking about AI, because we have been involved for so long with it, and so we're trying to learn as much as possible how it can be applied to different type of industry, and specifically the gaming industry. So we are biased towards AI that is used to, again, making game studios more effective, more efficient. Uh, and to that end, we are also always keeping an eye on the fact that it has to be very safe, right? Because even if you create an AI assistant that it's a support AI assistant for a game, I mean, that's still it's ending in the hands of gamers that might be very young people, right? And so the importance of creating guardrails to make sure that they are very safe, it's still there, even if it's a logistical type of application, if you want. And I was wondering, if you guys are thinking about that, if you are thinking about, so how can it be used, to improve efficiencies within your company, but also, what effect it might have on gamers and people that use the games.
Yeah, like for example, building out text or communication products, right? Like text chat and voice chat. Um, you mentioned guardrails, right? I mean, we always want, as product managers, we always want users to be able to game in safety, right?
Yeah.
And doing so means establishing things like reporting. Text chat. If I say something that offends you or whatever, you can report me, and it should be an automated process. It gets reviewed by AI before human, before then humans review it. Similarly with voice, right? If I say something that you find offensive, you can report my clip and send it for moderation, right? And so that builds trust with the users, and allows them to, and it they can therefore know that, hey, I know that if I can game in safety, and if I experience something that that I think is harassment or what have you, I can report that and continue on block. We provide all the ability to block users and things like that as well. So but yeah, sending that via a sort of a moderation service powered by AI first enables large volume, large scale, right?
Scalability.
And when you're dealing with Epic Games Launcher and the scale of a game like Fortnite, right? There's no way you can have 400 human reviewers on staff to be able to review everything that comes in. So you need to have that first line of defense, which is the AI moderation.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah, I think that's absolutely the way to do it. And yeah, AI can bring that scalability that you wouldn't otherwise have. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I'm thinking about the young kids that are playing too, and they kind of go off on a tangent talking about things that are, not necessarily game focused. And I think it's important to have those kind of guardrails and triggers in place to stop that before it even begins to happen.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. And if it's just a group of friends, who love to trash talk each other and stuff, they're not going to report each other. So who cares, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, got it.
Yeah, that's super important to me. Both my boys enjoy playing Fortnite, and so they've had experiences where, they're playing with someone they don't know very well, and we've had to report them and block them from interacting anymore. And so it's good that those things are in place, and I think that's great that there's a plan or thought to use AI to help in that and make it safer for everybody.
Right.
But since we're on the topic, if you don't mind, my boys would kill me if I didn't ask. Is there any chance there's a Jurassic World Fortnite collaboration coming?
I do not know. I cannot share anything.
Okay. All right. I just had to throw that out there before they hound me later. They saw me, doing some research, saw your LinkedIn with the huge Fortnite banner last night, and they were like, "Mom, what's going on? What are you doing with Fortnite?" So
Nice.
Yeah. No, thank you.
That would be an interesting mashup for sure.
I mean, I think there was
Um,
a fake video or something that was created online and they got super excited. And I was like, I don't think this is real, but
I think there's been a Jurassic Park collab several seasons ago, maybe,
oh, really?
because I
Okay.
think I've seen the skin for the SUV, the Jurassic
Oh,
Park Jeep. Yeah, yeah,
okay, okay, cool.
but not maybe not Jurassic World. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I'll definitely have to ask. Um, but yeah, I also wonder, I was kind of looking at the work you do with Lusa, is that the
Mm-hmm,
name?
hmm.
And how that company is like an AI driven kind of storytelling game. Is that right?
So that's one aspect of it. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I mean, they are essentially a AI platform, right? Which
Okay.
provides. So if you think of Steam, but all of the features that Steam could provide, like voice
Mhm.
technology, chat, etc.,
Mhm.
Lusa provides that as well, but um, essentially built and developed largely with AI.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, cool.
Very interesting. All right, next question from me. It kind of goes along with the discussion we've been having. How do you approach the challenges of supporting a live service ecosystem over time?
So I think from my experience on the game dev side and also supporting it with with products and services from the platform side, game teams really need to design for infinite game consumption. They have to assume that their games will be out there being played for 10 plus years, right? And what does that mean, right? Well, I think that means giving players the sandbox and letting the players architect specifics within that sandbox. So um, those specifics which can evolve and develop based on a game's meta, right? So if you think of a game like EVE Online, which was released in 2003, right? It's 22 years old now. Um, they have something called zero zero space, and it is freeform. It's basically where freeform gameplay takes place, and it provides players again that sandbox and the tools to allow them to do things like build player-owned structures or space stations, conquer solar systems or control territories, to create things like manufacturing hubs for economies, build military shipyards, and then also fleets, right, for massive interaction with users. Once the developers like code that that sandbox, the gameplay potential becomes basically infinite because um, and it creates like a huge win for studios, right? Because it allows the studios then to focus on new features for the title, while the players essentially create the content to be used within that sandbox. And that's ultimately where dev studios want to be. They want, players, again, UGC, right? I mean, UGC doesn't have to just be a new asset that a player creates. It could be a new game mechanic, which is what I'm referring to here with the Eve zero zero space. And if we look outside of MMOs, right, you can't be like the Fortnite tried and true battle pass and seasons and plus their micro events. I think a step further with that would be like reusing assets, utilizing procedurally generated content for even a bigger boost. But from a monetization standpoint, you really need to track like your player thresholds, right? Because spend fatigue is certainly real, and assets which are not adding true value to players need to be pruned rigorously and ensure that that type of copy is not utilized again. Um, you want to because you only want to lean into assets that land well with the players. Um, what you strive for is like cadence without the release cadence without the burnout for the players. That's the sweet spot.
That's amazing. So you're telling me that building these games so that they can continuously evolve rather than just here's your product, buy, have fun. They're continuously looking at what features, assets are being used and allowing the players to kind of guide that future. Is that true?
That is, yeah, yeah. And like if you are Like if you look at a game like mobile game from Scopely, like Starfleet Command, right? The basic gameplay has always been the same for however many years the game has been live, 6 years or so. What they do is they just release new weapons, right? It's a new power dynamic. So players are constantly chasing that new, top tier peak item, whether it's a ship or a technology or what have you, right? And so that fuels their spend, and it fuels continuous engagement from the player side as well. But the flip side is it causes high amounts of spend fatigue, and so the dev team needs to make sure that they're balancing those power dynamic releases with true game content like maybe missions or narrative arcs.
Gotcha. Really interesting. All right, I think this is the last question from me, and then we'll let Tony jump into those rapid fire questions. Can you share one actionable lesson for studios or executives working on long-term retention?
Yeah, so I was talking a little bit about it, right? It's content is king. And so whether the content is user generated or studio generated, or really a combination of both, which is optimal. What it comes down to is that users want new stuff. They want new game mechanics. They want new weapons, right? Power dynamics, which I just discussed about Starfleet Command. And they want new stories, narratives, and new meta. Helldivers 2 has done that narrative and meta aspect in an amazing way. And as a result, their game has been very, very successful over the past 3 years. A game must be ever evolving, otherwise players essentially will churn away, no matter how good the game design is. So dev teams really need to set an attainable cadence for new releases and train the users on when to expect those releases to land. The dev team needs to be consistent and meet the deliverables for those content releases. So they themselves have to hold themselves accountable to delivering on schedule. If they say every 4 weeks we're delivering a new quest line, for example, they can't one time take 6 weeks to deliver it because you have to build that trust up with players because they will expect things, and if you don't deliver, they're going to start to churn away.
Thank you. Mike, thank you so much for your time. One last kind of section here is meant to be a nice kind of fun and lightweight before we finish up. We call this our rapid fire. So it's just a couple of, kind of easy, fun questions. And the first one I wanted to ask you was, what is your favorite long running game or live service title?
So I think from an MMO perspective, it's probably EVE Online or GTA Online. And Helldivers 2 for non-MMO live service titles. Although I've been spending a lot more time with Arc Raiders, so maybe that will replace Helldivers 2.
I love that. I remember GTA being a big part of the household for the boys when I was younger. That's a classic. What's one tool or technology that you can't live without?
So as a product manager, I think Miro for its real-time collaborative environment. The UX is simple to use, and it really allows PMs to create basic user flows absent a UX designer.
Okay. And what's one underrated metric in product management, in your opinion?
I would say average playtime per active user. There's vanity metrics, DAU, MAU, and stuff, but those really measure quantity, and average playtime per active user really measures quality, which you ultimately want to see because that is what's going to sustain your users coming back.
I love that. Last one from me. If you weren't in gaming, what would you be doing?
I'd probably still be adjacent to gaming in some way, but at a big tech company, doing product management. I love building features and services that delight users and solve their pain points in ways that work for the business.
Thank you.
Sure.
Very good. Well, thank you, Mike, for sharing your insights today, from building systems that keep players coming back to navigating the challenges of long-term live ops. Your experience offers invaluable guidance for leaders across the gaming ecosystem. So thanks again.
Yeah, happy to be here. Thank you, Sarah.
And for our audience, if you enjoyed this episode, you can find Game Changers, The Future of Play on Spotify or our website at Sikura Quickstart, or excuse me, at sikuraqs.ai. And you'll find details in the caption. Thank you.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Mike.
everybody.
Bye.
Yeah, no worries. No worries. That was fun.
Yeah, that was really good.
Mhm.
Yeah.